Hello and welcome to this Backwards Battle Comics View. Today we're looking at the Sheriff of Babylon, issue number 5. Now, this is created by Tom King, and he's a writer as well, with art and colours by Mitch Gerads. I'll go for Gerads. Okay, so the book's coming out from Vertigo, and so far it's been great. So it's set around Baghdad. They've had to change the name to Babylon just because, one, Babylon's the historic name for Baghdad, but also because there was legal ramblings and all the rest of it. So I think we went through that in the last video. But what this is really about, it's about a investigation in the Green Zone in Baghdad, trying to find out who a murderer is. So it has that joint thing between a police procedural, there's also military stuff, and obviously terrorism flies all the way through there. And that's something that this issue has in bounds. Not going to spoil what that is, but it's actually quite good. We get a deeper insight into Christopher, who is our main character, and Fatma. Now, between the two of them, this is essentially a talking issue. They are sitting around, getting drunk, having fun. Or not having fun, reminiscing, talking, chatting about everything else. So I'm just going to quickly check something. But yeah, I mean, again, so it's one of those little things where everybody. So I'm just looking at the issue now, but it's always one of those. A quiet issue is important, if that makes sense. Sometimes a quiet issue, what it does is it sets up the future. It gives you a bit of grounding in the past. I've got to think sometimes, obviously we read comics as single issues, many of us, but some of us read it in a volume. In a volume, this makes perfect sense. It's that bit of a slow down where it dips and it takes sense of where it is and it moves on. It gives you a bit more depth about the character. Obviously, sometimes for an issue it can be, especially if this is your first entry into the Sheriff of Babylon, it can feel like, what the heck am I reading? But there are points in this comic where Mitch Gerads does some amazing artwork, just because he's showing people's expressions and emotions, and there is something about that which is really important, because that gives you an insight into the character, the way they laugh, the way they move, the way that looking sad, looking happy, all the rest of it, and they only get a chance to capture it in that one panel. And there are a couple of panels in here. There's one which is a laughter panel, which I must say is is probably the favourite thing I've looked at this week, if that makes sense. So in terms of continuation of story, it works brilliantly. It gives you a lot more depth about the characters. In terms of a single read, don't read this one to begin with. This is definitely one of those series where you've got to go back to number 1. I would definitely not suggest jumping in here. But if you have been reading, then I don't think you'd be disappointed with this issue. Again, it's not about flashing, it's not about bang, it's really just about understanding and developing with our characters, and I think that Tom King does a brilliant job in that, and obviously, as I've said, Mitch Gerads as well. So thank you very much for watching. Do take care. Again, Sheriff of Babylon is it's a slow procedural, very good, very strong story, so definitely worth a read if that's your cup of tea. Do take care, thank you very much, and goodbye.